What's up, and welcome back to the Couch Fanatic Sports Podcast, Episode 2. I'm your host, Noah Domangue, and today we have a big episode because over the last week, we've had a lot of news breakdown. So, it's a big episode when we won't be talking much football. We're going to be getting into football later on, but it's definitely not going to be the start, and we definitely won't be recapping every game, which is going to be different from the last time. Honestly, we can just dig right in because, we have a lot to cover. This might be a long episode. First, late last week, it was announced that the Miami Marlins hired a new general manager, and it came to the shock of pretty much everyone on who they hired. They hired Kim Ng, and in doing so, Ng became the first female general manager of a men's North American professional sports team in history. Like this, she's the first one. It's never happened in hockey, baseball, basketball, or football. I don't know if it's happened in soccer in North America, but that's still like the fifth sport. So like in the big four, it's never happened. She also becomes the first Asian American general manager in baseball. So like this hire was a big hire in many ways, not just the fact of her being like the first Asian American is big enough for like the baseball be the first general manager. But then if you add in the fact that she's the first woman in not just baseball, not just like Miami sports, but like men's North American sports history, she's the first. It's honestly remarkable. It's a little annoying it took this long. She probably should have been hired 15 years ago. That's when she applied for her first general manager job. Was in 2005, and she didn't get it. But the person that did ended up hiring her to be his assistant, like his assistant GM. So she's applied for over 7 GM positions that we even know of. So it's probably even more, but she is more than qualified. She's been in baseball since 1991 when she started with the White Sox as an intern. She's been assistant GM multiple times. She's worked in the league office for the last 9 years, working with Joe Torre. And people like Joe Torre and Brian Cashman and all these other people are giving her the highest of the highest praises. And if we remember correctly, which we should because it's not remembering, it's just knowing, Derek Jeter owns the Marlins. Well, he's not the sole owner, but he's the face of the ownership group, right? And so he's making kind of the more day-to-day baseball decisions. And if Derek Jeter can sit there, a first ballot Hall of Famer, he was almost a unanimous Hall of Famer. He was one vote off. If he can say, this is the person I want to lead my team, this is who I trust, we have to trust him too. We have to trust that he made the right call. And honestly, it's a great day. It's a great day it's a great day for women in sports overall, but it's especially a great day for women in the front office side of sports, because we may never see a woman play professional baseball. That's a realistic possibility, and it's not about prejudice. It's not about stuff like that. It's just talent-wise, men are generally bigger, faster, stronger. So it's harder for a woman to be able to compete with men. But there's no excuse for women not to be able to be in a front office. There's no excuse for them not to be able to run a baseball team because men aren't necessarily smarter than us. Genetically, we are bigger and faster and stronger. Genetically, we're not smarter than them. And genetically, they're not really smarter than us. It's just kind of humans. Every human is different. But there's no reason why this game has to be ran by men, because it's been run by men for so long. Maybe it's time to shake it up a bit. Maybe it's time to get someone new in there with new thinking. And if we just opened up, before, when there was only men, say there's about 3 to 4 billion potential people in the world. Obviously, it's not a real number, but that could become a general manager. We just doubled the potential size, and there's actually more females in the world than males, so we over doubled it. And you have to assume that the more quantity of people that we'll allow will turn out a higher quality of people at that position. So it makes the competition with more people fighting for the same jobs. It makes competition more fierce, and that could lead to very, very, very high quality of people qualified for that position and applying for that position, wanting that position, to where we could be looking at a future baseball like a lot like I always say, like watching the NFL, I'm like, there's not when we watch somebody miss a field goal, you're like, there's not 32 people in this world that can go out there and just kick field goals, like 32 in the entire world, really. And it's kind of the same way, like there's not 30 people that can go run a baseball team in this world. Well, like effectively, why is there some that are so good, some that are so trash? Well, opening this up allows us to get more candidates. It allows us to get potentially better candidates, and it allows us to like, gives us more flexibility. It gives us more options and more choices to choose from. But this isn't, Kim Aang was not hired because she's a woman. Even though it's significant that she was hired because she's a woman, she wasn't hired because she was a woman. She was hired because she deserves this job. She fought for this job for a very, very, very long time. And 30 years in baseball, she's a baseball lifer. She probably forgot more about baseball than like the average fan knows. And it's honestly extremely encouraging to see stuff like this happen, and to see baseball fans embrace it, and to see the Marlins fans so excited, and the Marlins social media team, like their Twitter account is hilarious right now. It's like they're like cracking like Karen jokes and like saying speak to a manager, and it's like our manager, our general manager, and it's like Kim Aang like on a cell phone. It's just funny. It's just like silly stuff like that. But yeah, it's a great day for baseball. Moving on a little bit, because we do have a lot to cover. We'll just do kind of sport by sport at a time, I guess. To continue the baseball trend, it was announced not that long ago. I'm recording on Tuesday afternoon around 1. About an hour or so ago, it was announced that Theo Epstein is going to be stepping down from the Cubs. I don't know how much of a shock this is to anyone. He's been there for a long time, and general managers and managers are kind of have a shelf life. After a while, they get stale. The same way, like whenever he left Boston, it was probably time for a new face. Theo Epstein is still one of the best general managers in baseball. Like, you don't just lose that, you know? You don't just lose the ability to be able to make good trades and make good signings and good development and have an eye for talent. So I have to imagine that he's going to get picked up pretty quickly. I saw a few rumors. I saw that the Mets were potentially interested with their new regime with Steve Cohen. I'm sure Theo would love to go break a quote-unquote another curse, like go win a World Series in a place that he hasn't won in a long time. Now, obviously the Mets are going to be a lot shorter than the 86 years for the Red Sox and then the 108 years for the Cubs. But I don't know. I don't know where he's going to go. I mean, if he even wants to go somewhere, I would have to assume he does, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not Theo. But they already announced who's going to be stepping up to taking his place. I think it was Hoyer. Yeah. But you have to... I'm honestly curious where Theo's going to go. And I think whoever gets him should be extremely excited. I wonder if any Marlins fans now are kind of like, oh wait, Kim seems awesome, but we could have Theo, because like Theo's a Hall of Famer, and that's no disrespect to Kim. But I don't know. Like, I'm sure a lot of teams right now that might have like hired someone already is kind of like, ooh, we kind of messed up. Like, I kind of wish we can go back, because Theo Epstein is, I mean, he was the boy genius. He was coming in. He was in his, I think, 20-something years old whenever he was running the Red Sox in 2003, and before taking over full-time in 2004, like, in front of the public eye. Like, he's the guy who broke the curse of the Great Bambino. He's the guy who built that Cubs team that we all thought was going to be just a dynasty after they won in 2016. But he's on the free market now, so let's see where it goes. Let's move on to basketball, because obviously there's going to be less stuff to talk about than the NFL, because the NFL's just loaded. And we got to get to the Drew Brees news. We got to get to covering all the games. We got to get to Russell Wilson just, falling off the face of the planet. I don't know what happened there. But moving on to basketball for a minute, it was announced late Monday night, like late, like I was about to go to bed, and then they announced this, and I had to stay up and write a couple blogs. that the Milwaukee Bucks have acquired Jrue Holiday. Many Louisiana people, New Orleans Pelicans fans, you know Jrue, you love Jrue. For years, probably 5 years now, we've talked about how awesome Jrue Holiday is and how underrated he is and how the media doesn't understand how good he is. And the same fans that were talking about how great he is and how underrated he is are the same fans saying that the Bucks vastly overpaid for him. Because the Pelicans acquired Eric Bledsoe, who he's still a good role player. He's a little overpaid, but I mean, it's fine. George Hill, very good bench piece. He's old, 35, 36, but still a good bench piece. And when it was first announced, it was those two pieces and, quote, draft compensation. So the internet kind of had a field day. They're like, the Pelicans just gave up like their favorite like player for George Hill, Eric Bledsoe, and like a second rounder, yada yada. And then it came out that the Pelicans received not one, not two, but 3 first-round picks from the Bucks. And on top of that, they also have the rights to swap picks with the Bucks 2 times. On top of that, so it can be in total of 3 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps for like if they have the better pick, we should swap with them for those years. That's insane. Jrue Holiday is not worth that. I love Jrue to death. He is amazing. He's a great basketball player. He has a great family. The stuff that him and Lauren, his wife, did in New Orleans is great. The story of her like battling cancer and him having to take off for basketball to take care of him is great. The story of them meeting at UCLA and like all of that. Like they're a great family. They have a very, very like sweet young daughter. She's adorable, but he is not worth 3 picks, 5 potential picks, but 3 first rounders. Now, all of this. Well, let's start from the Pelican side. Actually, you kind of have to start from the Bucs side to really get to the Pelican side. This trade was made in an effort to try and keep Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis said, like, I want to stay in Milwaukee, but like I just want to win. So like they have to show me that they want to win and they want to win now and they're committed to winning. So the Bucks' hand was kind of forced. The Bucks knew they had to go out there and get Giannis players, and it started with Jrue. And they overpaid, and they know it. But if Giannis resigns now, if he resigns a Supermax in a few days and signs for 5 more years, the trade was worth it. Because they will be in the late 20s. They will be giving up 3 draft picks in the late 20s, which, as we know, how many good basketball players have you ever seen been drafted in the late 20s? Not many. Not many that I've seen, at least. So you have to assume that the Bucks, if they can sign Giannis again, it would just be worth it for them. Now, with that comes the possibility that the Bucks just fade out in the playoffs again. Giannis gets annoyed. Giannis leaves. Jrue Holiday walks if they don't give him a Supermax. And the Bucks are looking at a big-time rebuild. Like, a very, very big rebuild. And they're going to have to do that without their picks. And that's going to be giving the Pelicans potentially 4 lottery picks over that time period. So if Pelicans fans, we should probably be cheering for Giannis to walk. If not, I think the best case scenario would be if he starts a 3+1, because the way it broke down was like we have their 2024 first, 2025 rights to pick swap, 2026 first, and 2027 right to swap, and a 2028 first. It breaks down to something like that exactly, but it starts in 2024. That's like the big one. Like we have their first round pick via like the Pacers this year, and I think it's at pick number 20. So the Pelicans now have numbers 13 and 20 in this draft. But we really need Giannis to leave, because if Giannis leaves, this is the worst trade like ever. they just gave up everything just to lose Giannis, and like they mortgaged their entire future to, like, especially if they don't win a championship. Because if they win a championship and Giannis still walks, just clean your hands off. You won a championship. That banner's gonna fly and hang in the Raptors regardless. It doesn't matter if he's still not here. It doesn't matter if you're gonna suck for the next few years and you don't have the picks to help you out, because banners fly forever. Just straight up, banners are gonna fly, and that's really all that matters. But the Pelicans, I think regardless of what happens, they won the trade. Even if Jrue and Giannis both resign and they go on a run for the next however many years, and those picks are never in the lottery, we're probably still the winners, because Jrue probably wasn't resigning. We needed to trade him. We weren't getting anywhere near that back for him if we trade with anybody else. Like, a lot of people were saying, like, we need to go to good Miles Turner from the Pacers with them, or maybe Michael Porter Jr. from the Nuggets, Tyler Hero from the Heat, Marcus Smart from the Celtics, all these like different players, and all those pieces would have been extremely nice, but I don't think anybody could have matched 3 firsts and 2 pick swaps, and that's really what it breaks down to. And now the Pelicans have so much draft capital and so much financial flexibility that they can acquire any superstar in the NBA that they want, and they could probably acquire a couple of them. Like, I heard there's a certain MVP in Houston looking for a way out. Could you imagine James Harden on this team? Could you imagine Lonzo with James Harden and B.I. and Zion and the bench pieces that we have? If we just gave them all the picks the Bucks just gave us, and we're like, we'll take on the whole contract, don't even worry about it. And then threw in like Josh Hart. I don't want to lose Josh Hart, but like still, like we'll give them any amount of picks they want, because we have so many. We're not losing anything. Like, and we would still have all of our picks, and we'd just be trading other people's picks. But that would be awesome. Like, this gives us flexibility to go get Bradley Beal or CJ McCollum or Miles Turner plus somebody. Like, these people that we wanted, like people that we wanted, we've been wanting for a couple years now, that we've been rumored to get for a while. And now we have the flexibility to do it. And if Zion and B.I. can become the superstars that they appear to be blossoming into, that's going to attract free agents. Because I don't want to hear, oh, New Orleans is a small market, it's not desirable. You know what else was a small market? Golden State. And then Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green made it cool. And because they were winning and they were very talented. And then they got Kevin Durant, which was one of the top 3 players in basketball at the time, to go there and sign there and play with them. That's what winning does. If Stan Van Gundy can get these guys right, get them playing good team basketball, and we can go make the playoffs this year, win a playoff series, and then keep building on top of that. Because this is last year's year 1, and honestly, you could argue that this year's year 1, because this is year 1 with a new coach. This is year 1 with your roster. This is year 1 with a fully healthy Zion Williamson for 82 games. And you have to imagine that the Pelicans aren't done. They're going to be making moves. A lot of people are speculating that Bledsoe and Hill are both probably going to be traded for this draft. I've seen rumors of the Pelicans trying to move up in this draft because they have their eyes on somebody. I've seen rumors that they might be looking to trade with Golden State for the 2 pick. I've also seen a lot of rumors, about them trading up to number 6 with the Hawks. So I'm very curious who they have their eyes on, because this draft doesn't seem like the draft where there's going to be like one guy that like really separates himself. Like last year it was Zion and then like everybody else. Well, it was like Zion, John Morant, and RJ Barrett, and then really everybody else. But like this year, like there is a lot of different people who I could see going at pretty much any point in the draft. Like, I've seen mock drafts with LaMelo Ball going first, and I've also seen mock drafts with him falling to 10. It's chaos, and LaMelo Ball's probably not going to fall to 10. I wonder what it would be like to have LaMelo play with his brother. I don't know how that would work, because they're both primarily ball handlers, but that would be pretty interesting. I think it'd be pretty cool to see, like, ball to ball, and I'm sure LeVar would be hype. He would be, like, begging us to sign LiAngelo, too, but he's not good, so. And anyways, we don't have to talk about that one. But the Bucks are going to be making a run now. They also traded for Bogdanovich, so their starting lineup it's pretty filthy. They have Giannis, Chris Middleton, Jrue Holiday, Bogdanovich, and Brook Lopez. That team that's the best starting lineup in the NBA. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's the best starting lineup in the NBA. Now, what do they have coming off the bench? I don't know. But if they can just play the first 5 minutes together and then have just Giannis and Jrue play together for half the time, and then the other half, the other three are out there, you're gonna win games. You'll be fine. You can throw me out there on the court. If Giannis is on the court, I can just go stand in the corner and get out of his way. He's gonna go put up 37 points a game, and we'll still make the playoffs. Like, that's how good he is, and that's how good the rest of those starters are. But they still have most of their big, like, key, like, core bench pieces and stuff. So I'm sure they're gonna be very good for a long time. There's a couple other trades. Rumor has it, well, this one isn't official. This one's not even close to official, but as of right now, at least, this can be posted on Thursday morning. So by then, who knows? I mean, the draft's already going to happen by the time you hear this. You're going to be like, oh, no, you said LaMelo Ball mock draft had him going at 10. Well, he just got drafted first. And I'm like, oh, well, sorry, I recorded it on Tuesday. But at the time, James Harden is still in Houston. Chris Paul got traded to the Suns. I can't believe I forgot about that. That's crazy. I wonder what him and Booker is going to look like. That's going to be scary. The West is shaping up to be the best. Like, I'm looking at it right now. Golden State, Clippers, Lakers, Suns, Mavericks, Rockets, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Spurs, Nuggets, Trailblazers, and Jazz are all fighting for 8 spots. So that's about 12 teams fighting for 8 spots. That is crazy. Like, any of those teams I could see being in the playoffs. And honestly, I didn't even include the Thunder in that, who were just like the 6th seed. Now, I think they're going to be rebuilding. They weren't really supposed to be the 6th seed. Chris Paul is just awesome, which got them there. So I think that makes us a little bit easier. But yeah, the West is going to be a bloodbath next year. I really wish we were in the East as like the Pelicans. It'd make our life a hell of a lot easier. But, you know, give us a couple years. Pelicans are going to run in the West, and it will be delightful. Now, is there anything else for basketball? Not as of now. If anything breaks, I can update at the end. I might do a little draft recap, like a little 10-minute draft recap on Wednesday night after the draft. Yeah, I'll do that, and I'll just throw it in on the back end. So, if you want to listen to that part, just fast forward to like the last 10 minutes of the pod. Now we can move on to the NFL. I don't think I'm going to be recapping every single game like I did last time, just for the simple fact of most of these games really don't deserve a recap. Like, I kept like catching myself just kind of talking on my butt about some of these games and some of these teams that just really don't deserve it. But, you know, that's just what it is. So we start off. We can talk Thursday night. The Colts Titans. This game was shocking to me that the Titans just rolled over and died in the second half and was outscored 21-0. And most of that came off of their just horrendous special teams play. Like, they lost by 17. They had a blocked punt return for a touchdown, so that's 7 points right there. Their punter punted a ball that had a net of 11 yards, and it wasn't returned. Like, he just shanked it off the side of his foot, and the Colts got the ball at like the 20-something yard line, 30-yard line. They just went and scored a touchdown. And so that's 7 more points. So that's 14 out of the 17 that they lost by. And then Gostkowski missed the field goal. A very makeable field goal. So they lost by 17, and that's your 17 points right there, just off special teams. I don't know how Mike Vrabel like survived. I mean, maybe he hasn't. Maybe he just like died from anger, because the way he is, like, I don't know how he can possibly accept what happened. And I know he doesn't accept it, but he's got to be just mad. Like, just nothing has worked for them on offense in that game. Ryan Tannehill went 15 of 27 with 147 yards and 1 touchdown, a 45 QBR. He looked awful. Philip Rivers played pretty good, 308 and a touchdown. Derrick Henry actually averaged 5.4 yards a carry, and he ran for 103 yards. And they still lost by 17 points. The Titans as a team ran for 4.9 yards per carry against one of the best rushing defenses in the NFL, and they still lost by 17 points. A.J. Brown got shut down all game long. He had 1 catch, and honestly, I don't know who's going to win the AFC South. I thought it was going to be the Titans. I'm starting to second guess myself because they just haven't looked good these last couple of weeks, losing to the Bengals and the Colts. And I don't really think the Colts are very good either. So, yeah, it's probably safe to say that whoever makes the playoffs out of the AFC South will probably get demolished by whoever the first playoff team could be, like wild card, because that could very well be the Ravens, or that could very well be the Dolphins / Bills at this point. But the way the AFC is setting up right now, it's gonna be an absolute battle. It's gonna for those 7 playoff spots. Right now, if the season ended today, you have the Steelers as a 1 seed with the bye, the Chiefs as a 2, the Bills as a 3, the Colts as the 4, the Raiders at 5, the Dolphins at 6, and the Ravens have the 7th seed. And then just behind them are the Browns and the Titans at 8 and 9, and they all have the same record. The Colts, Raiders, Dolphins, Ravens, Browns, Titans are all 6 and 3 right now, and they're all fighting for those last 4 spots. That's gonna be chaotic. I think as of now, I think the Dolphins are pretty much a lock with the way they're playing and who they have left on their schedule. We're going to look up in 3 weeks and say the Dolphins are 9 and 3. They play the Broncos and the Jets and another not great team. Let's see. Broncos, Jets, and Bengals in that stretch. They're going to be 9 and 3. We're going to look up and be like, the Dolphins are 9 and 3 and they're on track to compete with the Bills still. They're still here. But after that 3-game stretch, they kind of start a hell week to end the season of Chiefs, Patriots, at Raiders, at Bills. So, basically, as a Dolphins fan, you're kind of aiming for 10 and 6. You got to hope you can just win. 11 and 5. You got to hope you can win 2 of those games. You have to beat the Patriots at home if you want to do something in the playoffs this year. If you want to make a run, you have to be able to beat the Patriots at home. At the Raiders, that's pretty much a must-win because they're going to be competing with you for a playoff spot. And then at the Bills, if you want to win the division, you have to beat the Bills. So over that time, you got to go 3 and 4 to probably win the division. 2 and 4 to lock up a decent wild card spot. But I know Dolphins fans at this point are kind of clamoring for let's go win the division, let's go make a run at it. But looking at the AFC, it's loaded. And then you look at the NFC and it's kind of the opposite. Teams are just kind of hanging around, just chilling. And it's kind of the opposite. The AFC teams are hanging around because they're all winning, and they're all 6 and 3. And then you look at the NFC, and then you have the 5 and 5 Bears, and the 4 and 5 Vikings and Lions, and the 4 and 6 49ers. It's not the same. It's just not the same whatsoever. But now that we kind of gave the playoff landscape, now we don't have to talk about that again. Texans Browns, not really much to talk about. It was a windstorm. Browns won 10-7. Nick Chubb went out at the 1-yard line to end the game instead of scoring a touchdown, and it cost the Browns minus 3.5 spread. So gamblers around the world were very upset about that. Well, unless you gambled on the Texans, but Browns gamblers were very upset about that. and Nick Chubb fantasy owners were not very happy about that one. The Texans fell off the face of the map. They're 2-7 right now. They'd be the number 6 pick in the NFL draft. Oh, but wait, they also don't have their first round pick because they traded it to Miami last year. So the Miami Dolphins, who look to be building something special right now, can also look forward to 2 first rounders this year, including pretty much lock at this point a top 10 pick. And if the Dolphins, if you're the Dolphins, you have so many possibilities here. You can trade back, you can trade up and go get somebody if you like it. But honestly, if you're the Dolphins, unless you have one hole that you really, really see in your team that you want to plug instantly, and their top guy is, say you're one hole right now that you think as a front office is saying, our strong side linebacker, that's our one hole. We need that. I don't know. I'm making this up off the top of my head. I don't know the Dolphins' holes. I don't study them like that. My buddy, he can tell you everything. He'll get mad at me. He'll probably text me while listening to this and be like, "No, our one hole is our weak side safety." But yeah, that's how he is. He's great. But say it's that, and at number 6 they're sitting there, and Michael Parsons is sitting there. Well, then you go grab him. But say your one hole is that, and Michael Parsons is off the board already, and you really don't like any other linebackers, and there's teams that are desperate for a quarterback, because there always is. Every single team in the NFL is desperate for a quarterback. And this is a pretty strong quarterback class. People are going to be moving up fast and furious to go get them. This is the year you trade back, especially if you're the Dolphins. The way it's setting up, you trade back from 6 and pick at 12, and then go get best player available. And then you also get supplement. You might get another first rounder, because if somebody's picking at 14, they're willing to move up to 6, they'll probably give you next year's first rounder. And then you're looking at just more and more picks and more players. And then next season, say there's just one guy that you just absolutely fall in love with. It's hard to trade up if you're not trading for a quarterback, and you have Tua, so you're not really looking for a quarterback. But say there's a guy I don't know, Derek Stingley Jr. You're not really looking for a corner. You have Byron Jones, but just say you fall in love with Stingley Jr. and you want to go get him. You have the capital now to go get him. You have the first round picks. And you're not necessarily losing anything because you gained extra picks for this year's first round that you're not worried about losing next year's. It's kind of a give and take. It's an interesting thought process, but the Texans really got screwed over. And everyone was like, "Oh, the Dolphins committed highway robbery. They robbed them." And that was back when we thought that this pick was going to be in the 20s. We thought the Texans were going to be good at football last year whenever this trade went through. Boy, oh boy, were we wrong. Washington Lions, not really much to talk about here. We're not really going to sugarcoat it. Matt Prater hit a 59-yard walk-off field goal, which is pretty awesome. Alex Smith, he just set his new career record for passing yards, pass completions, and pass attempts in the game. That's a little crazy to think about considering, the circumstances. Moving on from that, we can talk about the Jaguars and Packers for a second. Honestly, I have to say that the Packers are frauds. Last year they went 13-3, and this whole time I was beating my drum, beating my chest, saying the Packers aren't good. The Packers aren't good. They're a fake 13-3. They're fraudulent. They're not good. And I was proven right whenever they got just ran all over by the 49ers. Every time the Packers would win last season, I was like, they are not a good football team. They have no rush defense. They're not good. And the same thing is happening this year. They have no rush defense. Everybody can do whatever they want on the ground. And yet they're still somehow winning. And they're 7-2. But seeing a lot of Packers fans on social media, they were kind of talking about this, saying that they don't really believe in this team because 3 out of the last 5 games they've come out with just no energy and played completely flat and really just kind of if they weren't trying. And that's very alarming, especially for a team with Super Bowl aspirations like the Packers. But yeah, it's weird. I don't understand how you have a team with Aaron Rodgers on it and they just don't show up for games. And they let undrafted rookie running backs run for 109 yards on them. And they let the 1-8 Jaguars with Jake Luton starting compete with them until the very last second. Like, they were tied entering the fourth quarter. I don't know. I know they beat the Saints, but that was also when Michael Thomas was out, and that was before Jrue kind of established like a repertoire with Emmanuel Sanders, because that Saints team has looked very different since. See the Saints Bucks game. If you have a problem with that statement, go look at that game. If that game you say, oh, Michael Thomas was back, well, go look at any other game that they've played this year. Like, besides that, like, go look at the Lions game and look how different the offense looked. Go look at the Chargers game after the first however long, and now the defense is really starting to fall into form. After holding the Bucks to 3, they held the Niners to 13, and really they held the Niners to 3 points in the last 3 quarters. That's very good. We just kind of, the Saints kind of just took it away. But we're gonna get to the Saints. Yeah, I like to do this thing called talk extra about all of my favorite teams. That's why we went so long for Jrue Holiday, and that's why we're gonna keep going back to the Saints and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't really believe in the Packers. Moving to the next game, Eagles Giants. The NFC East is pitiful. They shouldn't have a playoff team. There is a legit chance that the NFC winner is going to win the division with 4 wins. Let me rephrase that. It's probably going to be 5, but there's a chance. There is a chance that the winner of the NFC East, someone that gets to host a playoff game, and someone that's probably going to host the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers, they get to host them at a potential 4 wins. That's just, it's sad. They shouldn't have a playoff spot this year. They shouldn't get in. Like, let's give that spot to one of the AFC teams that don't make it. Like, if the Browns go 10-6 and don't make it, we're like, do you know what, Browns, just jump in the NFC. But I wonder if this is the final straw. If this, like, after this happened in the NFC East a lot up until like last year, but like, I mean, a couple years ago. But the NFC East division winner, it always felt like if you can go 7-9, you'll win the NFC East. At what point does the NFL become like the NBA and just say, you know what, like, screw all that, screw divisions, it's just the top 7 teams in each conference make it? Well, the NBA is 8 teams, but the NFL 7. Do they do that? And then maybe if you still want to give the automatic buys to each division winner, the automatic bids to each division winner, but you can't reward the Eagles with if the Eagles go ahead and, let's say, go 6-9-1, we're really giving that team a home playoff game, or even worse, 5-10-1. That team gets a home playoff game. They get to host Tom Brady, or the way that after the Drew Brees news, they get to host Drew Brees and the Saints. That's not really fair. So, like, at what point do we say, yeah, you can get into playoffs, but you're the 7th seed, and you get to go get waxed by whoever's the 2 seed that year? I don't know. I have a big problem with the fact that the NFC East is going to be able to host a game. I will say that Joe Judge and the Giants, Joe Judge might end up being a good coach, because, like, the Giants are always in a game. Like, the Giants really haven't played a game yet whenever they just got, like, blown out. The 49ers got blown out at home, but let's see, at Chicago they lost by 4. Rams lost by a touchdown. Cowboys lost by 3, and Dak Prescott played in that game. Beat Washington. Lost to the Eagles by 1. Lost to the Bucks by 2, like, points, 1.2 points, and then won their last 2 games. And then Monday Night Football Week 1 against the Steelers, they lost by 10. But if you remember that game was pretty close all game. Like, the game never really felt, let me rephrase that, the game felt out of hand, but not for the reason of, like, oh, this is bad, but more for the reason of just, like, yeah, the Giants aren't good. Like, they're not going to win this game, but, like, this game, for, like, a good team, would be winnable. Like, they went into halftime down 16-10. Like, they were only down 1 score at halftime. And they enter the fourth quarter down 16-10. The Giants' defense is very good. Daniel Jones, I don't know about him. He's starting to not turn the ball over as much, and he's looked very good the last 2 weeks, but it's kind of hard to give someone credit and judge them based upon playing the Eagles and playing the Washington football team. Kind of just moving along, keep it rolling. Don't want to spend too much time about these teams. Let's give a round of applause to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for continuing to fool everyone and pass as a good football team, because they went out there and beat up on the lonely 3-7 Panthers to a tune of 46-23. And now all of a sudden they're the best team in the NFC, and they're gonna win the Super Bowl, and they're so good, and Tom Brady's an MVP, and yada yada yada. Just stop it. Why do we do this every time Tampa wins a game? Every single time Tampa wins a game, they trick y'all. And they trick y'all into thinking that they're a good team, as if they didn't get the breaks beat off of them twice by the Saints. They went on a 3-game winning streak after losing to the Saints, and people were saying they were going to win the NFC South and they were going to win the NFC. Because they beat the Panthers at home. They went to Denver, who Denver is trash, and they beat the Chargers by a touchdown at home, when the Chargers are 2-7 this year? They are also trash. Straight up, these aren't good football teams they beat. But then they go to Chicago and lose, and then they play the Packers. They beat up on the Packers, but if you watch that game, the Packers were up 10-0 early. They were controlling the game, and Aaron Rodgers threw pick 6, and the next possession threw an interception, and they returned it to the 1-yard line, and that's what cost them the game. Right there, the momentum flipped, and it was over. The Tampa was going to win that game. And going back to the Chargers game for a minute, the Chargers were up by a decent bit right before the half, and then for some reason they decided to try and drive 90-something yards with Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert's third career start. They tried to drive that 90-something yards in 50 seconds, and the Chargers just turned the ball over and gave the Bucs a free touchdown right before the half, and that's what made the difference in that game, because that game was over. Let's go back, because I remember talking about it with my friend, texting him, talking about how trash Tom Brady was. They were up 24-7, right before the half, and then the Bucs scored a touchdown with 22 seconds left in the half to make it 24-14, and then they got the ball back to start the second half. And the reason why they scored is because of a fumble. I think it was a mistake on the handoff between Herbert and whoever he was giving the ball to. But that's what won the Bucs the game. A true rookie mistake. That is the definition of rookie mistake. That is what people mean when they say that. And yeah, honestly, an incompetent Anthony Lynn, because if you're traveling to Tampa to play Tom Brady, you just got to take your 24-7 point lead. You got to take your 17-point lead at halftime and say, hey, let's go, great half of football. But nope, got greedy. That's what cost him. But yeah, Joe Brady and Matt Rule, they're both good coaches. The Panthers are going to be okay. Teddy Bridgewater got hurt in this one. I hope he's okay. I haven't really seen anything on it since. I really, really, really hope he's okay, because, Teddy's our guy. As Saints fans, Teddy's our guy. Moving on to the Broncos and Raiders. Let's start with the good first. The Raiders dog-walked the Broncos to a tune of 37-12. They kind of just established the run game early on and just kind of never looked back. The Raiders ran for 203 yards against the Broncos and averaged 5 yards carry. And Drew Lock threw 4 interceptions and looked very, very bad until he stat padded at the end. But his final line still looks very bad with his 27.9 QBR. And honestly, that's pretty much all there is to it. John Gruden's a very good coach. John Gruden is going to have the Raiders in the playoffs this year. And after they beat the Saints, everybody had a lot of jokes. And the Raiders end up facing a very tough schedule to start the season. And yet, here they are at 6-3, because they're a good football team. They beat the Chiefs, too. They had a stretch when they played the Saints, at Patriots, Bills, at Chiefs, Bucks, at Browns. They went on the road and beat the Browns, who were also 6-3. At Chargers, which, like I said, they're not great, but they're definitely a lot better than their record indicates. They have a lot of talent. And then now they just went against the Broncos, who they're not really that good. But the Raiders are shaping up to be very, very, very good. Like, they have a very bright future. They're gonna make the playoffs this year. This is a year kind of like, oh, like the Raiders like made the playoffs. Like, that's a good year. You come back next year, you win a playoff game. Like, okay, the Raiders are building something here. But we're gonna see how real they are whenever they take on the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. If they can somehow beat the Chiefs twice in the same season, you got to give them their props. You got to give them their respect, because they would have definitely earned it, because the Chiefs are the best team in football. They're reigning Super Bowl champions. Most people's projected winners of the Super Bowl this year. So if the Raiders can go 2-0 against them in the regular season, that would be impressive. Drew Lock, Denver might be moving on from him. Like I said, it's a stacked quarterback class this year. Not only Trevor Lawrence, but you also have Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Kyle Trask, Mac Jones. Like, a lot of these guys. There's a lot of interesting quarterback candidates this year. Personally, I would love for the Saints to go get Kyle Trask. He's so raw, and he's so good. And he's definitely like a Sean Payton type quarterback. And he's having a Joe Burrow type rise right now. Mac Jones kind of is too, but like, Kyle Trask didn't play high school. Like, someone started over him. He really didn't play much football, and he's still doing this. He's still breaking all kinds of records, and he looks just chef kiss. Like, he looks great. Going to the next game, Chargers Dolphins. Tua is 3-0. Everyone who was upset whenever he became the starter, because Fitz didn't technically lose his job, and Fitz went 3-3, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, but Fitzpatrick's 3-3. He didn't deserve to lose his job." Well, you see why? Because Tua's 3-0. Tua's a better quarterback than him. Tua's the future. Tua's a potential Hall of Famer. And I'm not gonna say he played great in this one. He didn't play great. He played good enough to win. He played good enough to where the Dolphins were up by 15 with like 20 seconds left in the game before Keenan Allen caught a touchdown in garbage time. For his stats, 169 of 15 of 25, 2 touchdowns, 65.6 QBR. It's solid. It's a good game, but like, looking at it, they just really didn't need to light up the scoreboard, because that's just not what he was needed to do. It wasn't his job in this game to go out there and throw for 400 yards. He just went out there and did his job, and the Dolphins are looking like a very, very sneaky, good playoff team coming up. And as a Dolphins fan, I would be excited. And we've talked about this already, so we'll kind of just move on a little bit, because I kind of already gave the Dolphins their props talking about their trade situation and draft and all that stuff when I was when I was kind of bashing the Texans. But at what point do the Chargers move on from Anthony Lynn? Because it's got to be after this year, right? Because he has way too much talent to be 2-7 right now. He's played in way too many one-score games to still have his job. As a coach, you have to be able to win one-score games. And the Chargers have now lost 40 one-score games in the last 5 years. And he hasn't been there for all 5 of those years. But at what point do the Chargers owners and general managers say, like, this guy just isn't it? And I feel bad for Anthony Lynn. He's a great guy. He's such a good dude. Does he probably deserve another year? Yeah. He had a lot of injuries this year. He definitely deserves another year to see what he can do with Herbert. But, like, the problem is, like, the same problem it's always been with him. He's very conservative. He doesn't like to really throw the ball. I just don't think he's the right guy for Justin Herbert's development. I love Anthony Lynn. He's a great guy. Like, I would love to have him around the locker room. He's a great locker room guy, which is kind of funny to say about a coach, a great locker room guy. But I mean, you gotta go get somebody for Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's legit. Like, we see that. We see Justin Herbert has potential. He has this talent. You have to go make a move for an Eric Bieniemy or a Joe Brady or one of these just like offensive gurus, because you can't waste Justin Herbert. You can't let him waste away an Anthony Lynn. Because it was up to Anthony Lynn, he would run the ball for times games. Because that's what he was. He was a running back. And you could see, like, there's a reason why Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler were both fantasy relevant whenever they were on the same team. Because he wants to give the ball to running backs. He wants to, like, control the clock, run the ball. That's not the NFL anymore. You have to be able to sling the ball around. And you have the perfect guy to do it with Herbert. So, I don't know. Now that we established that Herbert's legit, it's time to go get him a legit offensive guru. And who that is, I don't know. You can make the safe pick with Eric Bieniemy. I personally kind of caution to hiring people like that, like, because whenever you hire a coach whose specialty is the same as like the head coach's specialty, because like obviously Eric Bieniemy's for the Chiefs. He's under Andy Reid. Andy Reid's an offensive genius. So I kind of wonder how much of the offense is Eric Bieniemy really running as offensive coordinator. Now, I mean, he may be running it all. I don't know. But that scares me a little bit. It scares me that, because, like, I don't know, Andy Reid doesn't seem like the type of guy to just give his offense away. Because, like, Sean Payton, he calls every play. He runs his offense. His offensive coordinator is just kind of like, yo, go get me, like, Sean just tells him, go get me coffee. Like, that's your job. You're just going to learn under me. And, like, that's why his assistants never get hired. So I wonder if it's the same thing with Bieniemy. All the players love him. They always give him, like, high praise and all this other stuff. But I don't know. I'll caution. I'm sure he'll be fine, especially if he is an Andy Reid guy. The same way that Joe Brady is what he is because he was a Sean Payton guy. But stuff like that kind of scares me. But at some point, you got to pull the trigger. And you got to give this guy a chance. And who better to do it with than Justin Herbert? Because that guy looks awesome. Do we want to talk about the best ending from Sunday? I think we should. Let's talk Bills Cardinals. Time to dog on the Texans. DeAndre Hopkins is awesome. His Hail Mary catch to win the game in Arizona was just awesome. Like, that was so cool. It was unbelievable just watching the game. I was actually listening to it on the radio because I had to drive. I had to go somewhere. I had to go bring something to my grandma's, actually, of all things. And I heard it. I was like, no way. Like, Kyler Murray really did that. And then you see the picture of DeAndre Hopkins out jumping 3 guys, and you see that he's wearing the Jordan logo on his gloves, like, catching the ball, and it's, like, over Adidas and Nike, and people are posting it. It's going viral, saying, like, oh, this should be a Jordan commercial, saying, like, he can, like, out-jump it. But that was so cool. And, like, the Bills played such a good game, and, like, both teams deserved to win a game. Neither team deserved to lose that game. But at the end of the day, DeAndre Hopkins went out there and just made a play. And yeah, that was just wild. The kind of the funny thing about that was Stephon Diggs scored on 2nd and 1 with 34 seconds left in the game. 21-yard touchdown pass. And after he scored the game, you could see, like, they showed his mouth, and you could see that he was saying, "Pay me, like, pay me my money." So, like, the Bills just assumed they won. Because that just, I mean, it gave them a lead. It gave them the 30-26 lead. I mean, if you have a 4-point lead with 30 seconds left, you expect to win that game. What you don't expect to happen is Kyler Murray pass the ball for 14 yards. Kyler Murray pass the ball for 9 yards. Kyler Murray pass the ball for 9 yards. And then just drop a bomb of a 43-yard Hail Mary touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins. And I saw a lot of another one gamblers were upset about that the spread wasn't covered for Arizona because Cliff Kingsbury actually made the right play. So if you're unaware of this rule, if a team kicks an extra point and the extra point attempt is blocked and it's returned for a quote-unquote like touchdown like into the other end zone, it's actually 2 points for the other team. So if the Cardinals would have tried to kick an extra point to end the game, whatever, and it got blocked, or say the snap went over the holder's head, or something crazy happened, and a Bills player would have picked it up and returned it, it would have been a tie game, and they would have went to overtime. So instead, Cliff Kingsbury said, "I'm gonna kneel the ball." So Kyler Murray, they went for two. Everybody was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Got the ball, took a knee. No harm, no foul. You can't return it, so now you just got to deal with the kickoff for 2 seconds left. As long as they don't return it for a touchdown, you win. I really loved the play call by Cliff. He played it safe. No reason to really even snap the ball there. I mean, obviously you had to snap the ball, but there's no reason to kick that extra point. Gamblers were upset, but when are they not upset, you know? You can't get mad at a coach for winning a game for his team because it cost you money. That's your fault. Don't feel sorry for you. But Kyler Murray is probably in the top 3 in MVP right now. He just had yet another awesome game. He went 22 of 32, 245 yards and a touchdown, and he also ran for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is just kind of what we expect at this point. We expect Kyler to get 300 total yards and 3 touchdowns. 3 total. Like, he's just so good at football. It's crazy. And, like, the Cardinals, like, whenever he was coming out, everybody was like, are the Cardinals really going to draft him and trade Rosen, like, after 1 year of Rosen? And, yeah, now we see why. Because Kyler Murray is just the man. The Bills went from looking at 8-2 and a game and a half lead still on the Dolphins to now a half game lead of the Dolphins at 7-3. And if the Dolphins just go win this week against whatever bad team they're playing out of the Jets, Bills, and Broncos, like, they're gonna catch up to the Bills. But just, yeah, we're looking for that. Moving on to the next game, the Seahawks and Rams. And I have to say one thing: let Russ cook may be dead, because Russ may have been overcooked. Russ is burnt at this point. He just hasn't looked the same. The first 3 games, he was running with the MVP, and it started the whole, like we do every year, wow, can you believe Russell Wilson's never getting an MVP vote? And he just kind of flamed out, like he just tends to do. And Mahomes is going to go run away with the MVP again, or Kyler, or maybe even Alvin Kamara. Yes. We'll get to that though. Russell Wilson looked terrible again. Didn't throw for a touchdown. DK Metcalf didn't catch a pass until the 4th quarter. He completed 22 of 37, 248 yards, 2 interceptions. It's bad. Like, should we keep letting Russ cook? Maybe we let him cook too much. Maybe he still needs to be more balanced, because him throwing the ball a ton and never running the ball just seems to not be working. I don't know. It doesn't look good. It doesn't seem like this is what I can imagine just what the Seahawks are aiming to do on offense. On the other hand, Jared Goff threw for 300 yards, no touchdowns, but still 300 yards. The Rams ran for 3 touchdowns, and their defense looked just awesome. Leonard Floyd had 3 sacks, and Terrell Lewis had 2 sacks. So they were just kind of in Russell's face, like, all game. And I don't know. There's not really much more to say about that. I think with this win, the Seahawks and the the Seahawks and the ESPN and their box scores. If your volume's on at all, like, it'll just blare it. Like, I just forgot to turn the volume off, and they'll just blare the ads. Like, I have a problem with that. ESPN, I'm gonna rat you out right now because I'm venting. Why do you do that? Why do you autoplay your videos, and not only autoplay it, but autoplay it with the volume on? It's It's ridiculous. That should be illegal. I'm going to run for president, and that's going to be my one thing I run on. It's going to be you can't autoplay ads. You can't autoplay videos, especially not ads. But, yeah, let Russ cook may be dead. Russ might be burnt at this point. And we'll save the Saints-Niners for last so we can talk about the Jrue Brees stuff. I know, I'm sorry, Saints fans, if you want to listen to Jrue Brees stuff, sorry. Next we're going to go to Bengals and Steelers. Steelers just beat up on little brother. Big Ben threw for 333 yards and 4 touchdowns. They hit Joe Burrow 13 times. Joe Burrow needs an offensive line bad. Reference, we need to save Joe Burrow video if you want to know how I feel about that on YouTube. Lazy Couch Thoughts. That's pretty much all we have to say about this game. The Steelers are undefeated at 9-0. They look very good. Their defense is dominant. Big Ben played very good. Him and Alex Smith are going to be battling out for Comeback Player of the Year. Probably should go to Alvin Kamara considering the year that he's having again. But moving on from that, he never gets his respect because he's a Saints player. Just like Jrue Brees never got his respect. And just why Michael Thomas apparently won the Offensive Player of the Year because, quote, he only runs slants. Yeah, let's talk about that, huh? But move on to the Sunday night game. Ravens-Patriots. If you watch this game, you saw how much it was snowing. How much it was raining. And then, at the end of the game, the Patriots won 23-17. At the end of the game, Lamar Jackson tried to lead the team down the field, and it was raining so hard, you couldn't, see anything. So, it was just kind of a weird game. Lamar Jackson's just not Lamar Jackson anymore. He's not the MVP that he was. And at this point, it's kind of hard to take the Ravens serious as contenders with the way that Lamar's playing. Crazy part was he didn't even necessarily play bad. He threw 24, 34, 249, 2 touchdowns. He threw an interception. He ran 55 yards, but the Patriots haven't been good this year. They entered the game at 3-5, and you couldn't go beat them. This is the third time out of 9 games this season that Lamar's thrown for over 200 yards. So you can only throw for 200 yards 33% of the time. That's not going to fly. How are you going to be the MVP and only do that? And he never really lit up the stat sheet in the passing department last year. But the Ravens were running for 200, 300 yards a game. So it didn't really matter. But now that they can't really get their running game going, this really isn't the best example of it because on stat sheets it looks fine. Nothing really stands out that's alarming. But it doesn't have to stand out to be alarming because if you can't enter the year Super Bowl favorites and then lose to the Patriots, a bad Patriots team, in a game where Cam Newton threw the ball 17 times only. Harbaugh, what are we doing here? You got to force Cam Newton to throw the ball more than that. You can't let Damian Harris run 22 times. You can't let the Patriots run for 39 times total and average 4.4 yards a carry. You can't do that. You got to do something. You got to load the box. You got to prevent them from doing that. You can't just let them run the ball down your throat. And I don't know. It's crazy to kind of think about the Ravens window might have passed. It's probably a hot take. I'm probably gonna get hot take old takes exposed. I was never really the biggest Lamar Jackson guy. I had to eat a lot of crow last year. A lot of it. I had to admit my wrongdoings against society. But I still said, sure, he won MVP. He played very well. He's got to develop a consistent, accurate arm for at least the short and medium passing. He doesn't have to be a great deep ball threat, but you got to be able to make every throw within 20 yards in the NFL. And he's just his arm just hasn't done that. And there's still time. He's getting better. Well, he was getting better. I don't know what really happened. But as a Ravens fan, I'm definitely not as excited as I was. Vikings Bears. The Vikings, go see the Lazy Couch Thought from a couple weeks ago. The Vikings are on their run. The Vikings are now 4-5, and just like that, they might sneak into that 7 seed. Their schedule isn't, schedule's not that strong. They play the Packers again, but this is their remaining schedule. Cowboys, Panthers, Jaguars, Bucks, Bears, Saints, Lions. If they can win all of those games and then win one out of the Saints and Bucks, they go 10-6, and that probably makes the playoffs. If you win those games and lose to just the Saints and Bucks, yes. If you win all those games and lose to both Saints and Bucks, you're still going 9-7. There's still a chance for the 7th seed. But whenever they beat the Packers and became 2-5, I said that look out for the Vikings. They might go on a run here because I saw Lions, Bears, Cowboys, Panthers, Jags all in a row. I said they could win all of those games and then all of a sudden be on a 6-game winning streak and be over 500. 7-game winning streak and be over 500. That's very realistic. Justin Jefferson looks awesome. He should be the rookie of the year. Will he be? Probably not. They're probably going to give it to a quarterback. But he leads all rookie receivers by a very wide margin in receiving yards. Actually, now that I said that, I'm about to go look up the NFL receiving yards leaders this season because I would have to imagine that he's at the top of the list. Maybe not. He's probably not one, but he's definitely got to be up there. He's just outside of the top 5. Justin Jefferson is number 7 in the NFL in receiving yards this year. He's 6th among wide receivers because it goes Stephon Diggs, Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Robbie Anderson, Travis Kelce, and then Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson, the rookie at LSU. What was he? The 5th wide receiver taken off the board. Yet he has been the best by far. He's been remarkable this season, and he's got the gritty trending on Twitter. He's got Chad Johnson tweeting about him. He's got all kinds of people just talking about Justin Jefferson, the Minnesota Vikings. He's got Adam Thielen out there trying to hit the gritty. The Vikings are a pretty fun team, and Dalvin Cook is very good. And what you just heard was somebody's car alarm because I'm recording this at the dorm, and yeah, I don't know. For some reason, people are wild. I'm hoping that stops so I don't have to stop recording for a second, but it appears it did. So we'll just keep on rolling. Sorry about that. We're starting next week. It should be a lot quieter because I won't have to record at the dorm anymore. I'll probably be recording in a conference room with nobody else there, so it should be nice and quiet, and we should be able to just all hold hands and sing Kumbaya together. The Bears offense, let's talk about that. It is so abysmal. It is so difficult to watch. Their offensive line is terrible. Matt Nagy calls awful plays. He is a terrible coach. He needs to be fired. Nick Foles just isn't good. He got hurt. It looked like a bad injury. I hope he's okay, but that doesn't change the fact that he just hasn't been good this season. There's really nothing else to say. The Bears can't run the ball. They can't throw the ball. But they have the best defense in the NFL. Their defense is awesome. They returned a kickoff for a touchdown. That's the only reason why this made this game a respectable 19-13. Their defense is awesome. They shut down the Bucks. They shut down the Saints. They shut down all these teams. And they still can't win games because their offense can't put up points. I don't understand. Let's see. The Bears, so far this season, have allowed 23, 13, 26, 19, 19, 16, 24, 26, 24, 19. So the most games they gave up this year, the most points they gave up this year was 26, and they've averaged less than 20. And they're 5-5. Their team is average. Their defense is average, giving up less than 20 points a game, and they're sitting here at 5-5, or right around 20 points a game. And they're sitting here at 5-5. What are we doing? We can't get anything. You have Allen Robinson. You have David Montgomery. Darnell Mooney looks to be like he can be a weapon. They have other people. and they can't put up 24 points a game. In this offense, in this NFL, you can't go give me 24 points a game. You can't get 24 points a game against the Vikings. The Vikings defense up until lately have been bad. Oh yeah, and Anthony Miller. Anthony Miller's looked very good this season too, but I don't know. The Bears are just so hard to watch. But then when they're on defense, you're like, wow, this team is good. They're gonna be just nasty. And then the offense comes on the field. You're like, oh no. Can we get the defense back out there? Because they're more fun to watch. The defense has a better chance of scoring than the offense right now. Yeah, I'll stop dogging them out. Let's move on to the Saints. Saints beat the 49ers 27-13. I guess we can start with the Drew Brees injury before the breakdown. Drew Brees got hurt. It doesn't look good. He fractured 5 ribs, and he also collapsed lung. He has a collapsed lung. 3 fractured ribs on his left side, 2 on his right, so it's on both sides. And with the collapsed lung, he is also now considered a high-risk candidate for COVID-19. So that's just great, right? As Saints fans, Saints were 7-2, beating up on everybody, finally hitting their stride. And then this news breaks. The Saints they went down 10-0 early, came back, battled back, went up 17-10 at halftime. Jrue put us up 17-10 at halftime. He still, even though he was hurt bad with 5 fractured ribs, that's what we know of. They said there might be more, and a collapsed lung, still drove down the field for 2 touchdowns to give us a lead before halftime before coming out. This man is so good. He is just the best. You can never question Drew Brees' toughness. He's always been a tough player. But the fact that he went out there with those injuries and scored those 2 touchdowns to give us the lead at halftime, that's all that you could say about that man. That proves just everything that anyone has ever said to praise him. Is just proven right. Anyone that's ever called him tough. And the way he battled back from his shoulder injury in 2005, 2006, if that wasn't enough, look what he did here. Look how fast he came back from the UCL and his thumb tear last year. He's just awesome. He is the Saints. I don't know what's going to happen when he retires. I don't know when. It's probably going to be after this season, but he became the quarterback of the Saints in 2006. I was 5 years old when that season started. He's the only quarterback I have memory of playing for the Saints. It's just Teddy and Josh McCown one game, but the first games I can remember watching as a Saints fan was the 2006 NFC Championship game against the Bears. That's the earliest Saints memories I have, and it's Jrue. And the latest Saints memories I have is Jrue. So I don't know what's going to happen when he retires. I'm probably going to be just a puddle of myself. My dad always makes fun of me, clowns me, saying oh, you don't know about the bad Saints. You didn't have to live through that. And I'm happy I didn't. And I'm happy I didn't have to live through that carousel. But yeah, I don't know. And I think the scary thing is a lot of people are saying broken ribs, it's only 2 to 3 weeks. But a lot of the doctors are coming out of the woodwork saying, you got to be really careful. That you have to be cautious. You have to give him time. And I've seen some reports saying that the Saints need to hope that he can be available for the playoffs. Wait, what? First playoff game's 8 weeks from now. If we can get the bye, it's 9 weeks from now. You're saying that he might not be back then? So then I was wondering at least just before, but I was wondering if Jrue was just going to retire. Honestly. If he had to miss a couple months and why would he come back? Why would you even risk that if you can't even come back until if he's hurt and they lose in the first round of the playoffs when he can't play? He's definitely gonna retire, but I don't know. It's scary. But then I said no, Drew's too big of a competitor. He's gonna work his tail off. He's gonna be back. It's faster than anyone ever could expect. I was proven right because he posted something on Instagram that night saying I have the best medical team in the world, taking care of me, we'll be back in no time. So I had to get back out there, and it was a picture of him doing the little lung test capacity thing
with like all of his kids huddled around him on the couch, and it was like the cutest thing ever. It was like, and I'm like, oh wow, Drew Brees, like how Drew is it? How Drew Brees of it is it that he made, like, he's turning this into a competition. He has an internal competition right now against himself to compete, to see how fast he can get better and how much better he can do every time at the little lung thing with his collapsed lung from it being punctured. Like, that's just so Drew that he even turns even this into a competition. And he's not competing against anybody. He's competing against himself. He's competing against what he did however long ago when the last test was taken. But just focus on the game. It's pretty uneventful for what the score was, 27-13. 20 of the 40 points actually came off of miscues in the kicking game, like muffed punts and stuff like that, like of that nature, kick returns. Very weird stuff. Jameis, I have faith in Jameis. I think he'll be fine. Stats didn't look great. He didn't really pass the eye test, but kind of what happened with Teddy, like he was just kind of thrown into the fire. You have to give him a week to prepare. He has to face a very weak Falcons secondary next week. He's played the Falcons many times in his career. Give him a week. Let him go. Worst case scenario, right? This is what you paid Michael Thomas for. This is what you paid Alvin Kamara for. Give the ball to Kamara 20 times next game. Throw the ball to Michael Thomas 10, 15 times next game. And they'll go win the game for you. And then you still have Emmanuel Sanders. You still have Jared Cook. You still have Latavius Murray. Taysom Hill's probably not going to get used as much, I would assume, just because he didn't get used much last year whenever Drew went down, because he was the backup. He was Tay's backup. So, like, you can't have Taysom go out there, run in, read options, get blown up, get hurt, and then Teddy's only active quarterback. And if Teddy gets hurt, who plays quarterback? So, I doubt we'll see Taysom much, but still, we have weapons. We have plenty of weapons. Another injury I want to talk about. I don't like talking about injuries. It sucks, but Tre'Quan Smith. If you saw the play, it was bad. It was a very, very illegal hit. He got knocked out in the field. It looked like at least he was unconscious. Praying for you, brother. I know you're probably not listening to this, but yeah, I hope he's doing okay. I hope his family is okay, and yeah, that stuff's scary. It's scary whenever somebody gets hit like that, and that's one of the dangers of playing football. But Saints gotta get healthy. We had a lot of injuries in that game. Marshawn Lattimore, C.J. Gardner-Johnson also went down. Josh Hill had a concussion in that game. There was one other player, can't remember off the top of my head. The Saints will be releasing their injury report on Wednesday, so by the time you're listening to this, go check it out. It'll probably be out by then with all the official stuff. But yeah, that's just we got banged up that game. We gotta get back right. We have to get back right. And this is a good spot in the schedule. This is kind of the softer spot. These next 4 weeks, you have Atlanta, then at Denver, then at Atlanta, and then at Philadelphia. So those are 4. If it was Drew, it would be like, okay, yeah, whatever. 4 more wins. We're 11-2 now. Before we go play Kansas City, Minnesota, and then at Carolina. But Jameis should be able to win these 4 games. I'm not really worried about that. Let me rephrase that. I hope James can go win these games. I think he will. I think he'll be fine. But it just really sucks to lose Drew right now, because we were making a run at the 1 seed and we were looking good, and like this is like a Super Bowl caliber team. And I've been saying this for a few years now, but I really wish the 2017 Saints to now could have had this. I wish this could have happened in like 2010. Like, I wish Drew could have had these weapons, or not even these weapons. Their offense was always fine, but this defense in the 2010s, before he was 40, like, he deserved that. He deserved to have a good defense once. All those 7 and 9 seasons, whenever he was breaking every record possible, and the defense was breaking every record possible for being the worst defense in NFL history. And that's gonna pretty much do it for the NFL stuff. If anything else major happens before the NBA draft in any sport, I'll talk about it. I'm gonna stop here, and then I'm gonna come back. So like next time you hear from me, it's gonna be Time Traveler Noah Part 2. He's gonna be basically giving like a short breakdown of the NBA draft and all that went down, and any other potential big news. Maybe James Harden got traded. I don't know, but you know who will? Time Traveler Noah. So let's go visit Time Traveler Noah now. Okay, guys. It is currently 11:04 on draft night. We are in the late 50s right now. The Charlotte Hornets are currently picking. Just for clarification, we are in the second round, pick 56 overall. So yeah, in case you're wondering how long this draft's taking, we're 4 hours in right now. We're still on the 56th pick. A few things to address. We left off saying that we might have a James Harden trade. That never happened. It's a good thing future Noah was here to save the day, because James Harden was not traded during this time period, at least as of now at 11:05 p.m. on Wednesday night. James Harden has not been traded. There really hasn't been many news on that front, except for the fact that they don't know if the Nets can even get him at this point. I don't know. Stuff seemed to hit the fan pretty quickly. I guess we could start with some of the major storylines from the draft first, and then we can move on to the Pelicans. I don't want this to be too long, guys. It's late. This is just kind of adding on. It's already a pretty long episode, and so we're just gonna roll through. First, after all the Anthony Edwards stuff, it's still kind of funny to see him go first, with him basically being like, yeah, basketball's alright, but I wish I was a football player. Like, that was kind of wild. And then the next thing, he was just like, yeah, Dame Lillard's just kind of trash at rapping. I'm way better than him. I'm like, okay, that's if that's what you want to do when you first enter the league, that seems okay. You're gonna call out a all NBA type talent. Yep, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want, but then secondly, the Warriors went second. Some terrible news came out. They think Klay Thompson might have